Postal brain damage is like Monster energy drinks. They look like piss, they taste like piss, but why is it so good and why can I stop drinking it? An all-killer, no-filler boomer shooter spin-off title by Hyperstrange and Creative Forge Games, published by Running with Scissors on June 2022 for PC, to be released on consoles, probably never. Ports have been announced, but given the deep discounts I'm seeing, it's a good guess that it hasn't been selling well enough to justify it. And sales, believe it or not, do not equate with talent nor quality. The game takes place in Postal Dude's head after he's fallen asleep. During this fever dream, he starts looking for a TV to watch.
I wake up in a suburb of all places, like it's some shitty nightmare. A neighborhood full of trigger-happy retired policemen, saggy middle-aged soccer moms, and really angry, leg-biting, ass-munching pet pooches. Oh, and my TV isn't working. And that, my dear friend, is only the beginning. So, this is my story.
And that's basically the plot for the majority of the game. It was the stay-at-home times, and the game starts out by satirizing the dude having to stay at home, only dreaming about resuming his usual line of work, full-time genocide, and exposing himself publicly, of course. The first level is the suburbs. The classic elements of your typical Postal game are there. Barge into people's houses in a bathrobe for resources and kill everything inside. It's a no-nonsense, honest-to-God, nihilistic FPS this time around, so not killing innocent bystanders means losing the armor shards that drop. Slight jump and slash at high speed. It really never gets old. Levels are huge, but you can cover long distances by slide jumping. Press down to crouch and slide, then jump immediately to get a speed boost. That's how you'll be moving 100% of the time. It's a breath of fresh air, even if not novel. The complete opposite of press W to walk the walk and talk the "oh, shut up and let me play" of recent Borefests.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
So it's a fun throwback with modern game mechanics, stolen left and right from Doom Eternal and other indie titles. Bullets can be parried with a kick and sent back to the enemy, causing an explosion in slow-mo. High risk, high reward, nice. The timing is hard to get right, and that's why it's fun. The first weapon is a motorized shovel. You can slash or chainsaw enemies with it. It goes 2-year-old memes. Just like the toilet paper joke, humor is dated because memes have a very short shelf life, but they're still a welcome addition throughout the game, especially when you compare it to the other humorless gray and brown palette titles in the genre. Enemy infighting is there. I haven't seen this in a while. You can trick enemies into killing each other. Also nice. Later in the game there's also power-up to intentionally do this. We have the old school assortment of weapons. In the first level we're introduced to 2 more, a pistol with homing bullets inspired by Titanfall and a double-barrel shotgun inspired by Doom Eternal with a hook to get close and shoot people in the face. I've used the homing bullets when I was feeling lazy. I also had the feeling that they did less damage as opposed to shooting the gun directly into the faces of enemies. The shotgun is lots of fun, sending you repeatedly flying between enemies, in and out of water. It's exhilarating, too bad not many levels were designed with the shotgun in mind, except for the traversal rings found throughout the game. I also would have liked weapon switching to be faster, to allow for more combinations with other weapons, and basically traverse levels through the enemies themselves. The first 2 power-ups are also introduced in the first level. These allow you to freeze and burn enemies with your pass. PS is also used to momentarily confuse your enemies into attacking each other, activate switches, and burn foliage in later levels. I've never used the PS power-ups themselves, because the guns were enough for the first part of the game, that is. There are other power-ups, we'll touch on them later, after I washed my hands. Level design is on point. They'll tell you in the first level where the blue key is, even going as far as putting the blue key on top of the house it's in. It's typical for your first level to be a sort of tutorial for the rest of the game, but the levels never got in my way throughout the experience, thank God. Humor in the game that doesn't mention memes is more timeless and more effective, like this death metal party. Except for the infighting thing, enemies are quite dumb. They become a tad more aggressive and do more damage on higher difficulties, but that's it. It's not really an issue. In this kind of game you want basic AI competence, but mainly general brutality, as is tradition. First few enemy types: flying obese burger boys, throwing cholesterol and saturated fats, rednecks with rifles, rabid dogs on steroids and cocaine that you have to kill twice. Structural damage to levels is limited. You can explode barrels to create passages to proceed further or to kill enemies, but that's about it. A little more mindless destruction of good old build engine days would have been fun. On the second level we have a prison. This is the last level that makes use of interesting level design catering to the shotgun hook and the very first clusterfuck in the game. A machine gun that also creates a bubble stopping time. This gun allows for more creative ways to maim your enemies with. I made heavy use of it in a later level in the woods to save some ammo by spamming the shovel on time-frozen enemies and to blow them up with a rocket launcher. We get a lighting gun on the second level that shoots a mini BFG-like projectile in the shape of a brain, which is probably one of the worst guns in the entire game. Damage output isn't bad, but the upper limit to how much ammo you can carry makes it nigh useless. I didn't even remember about its secondary fire mode from my first playthrough because I basically never used it. The cage full of God knows what, or Goliath for friends, is an interesting enemy to fight. It can only rush you quickly in a straight line. It's always fun to get it stuck in geometry. All in all, enemy variety is great. You have shit-shooting monsters, horny BDSM slaves without limbs with dildos for tongues. That was a mouthful. Top models by American standards that are basically sorcerers spawning new enemies, special agent dominatrices, and really a plethora of very creative enemy designs that are just there to produce gifs. There are many enemy designs but not many enemy types, if that makes sense. But the ones with notable behavior are carefully first introduced to teach the player how to tackle them. For instance, on the third level, the Mexican border, we have, let's call the cowboy snipers. That's when we get our hands on the aptly named Penetrator. Dildos are by now overdone in video games, but I'm waiting for Hogwarts Legacy to introduce a new type of magic wand in newer DLCs. I hear the Philips one has a good battery life. In the same level we get the holier-than-thou rocket launcher. It shoots holy hand grenades with the secondary fire mode. Remember Worms Armageddon? Oh, I remember. We get the usual Guns Akimbo power-up that grants you infinite bullets for the time it's active. Wish I had it saved for when I got the minigun in the subsequent level. You can also slow time for a short time by taking pills. Sound ambience and music is competent but never really in the forefront. Each weapon has weight, so nothing really to complain about in that department. Also, nothing really that stands out.
It's raining blood. Hallelujah.
Just when things seem to start to get boring, we go against the first boss. The first of 3 in the entire game actually. Which is appropriate, because by now, which is by the end of the first quarter of the game, your weapon roster is almost complete, except for one important weapon. And that last one, well, it breaks the game. We'll get to that in a bit. The first boss is a Karen. It is Karen. Karen, the manager slayer. I'm not gonna lie, I pissed myself laughing in my first playthrough. Dated meme? Sure. But the idea of putting Karen in a video game is just plain hilarious. I also used the secondary firing mode for the minigun on Karen, which is basically a lock-on tracking device, so you don't have to aim. Given how enemies don't move too quickly in the game, and it's an FPS for PCs, it's basically useless. Did you like having all of the weapons? The game is now removing them from your inventory. I should be complaining, but once you touch the ceiling, where do you go from there? Metal Gear Solid and many other games have pulled this off through the years, and if you don't make the game unfair from that temporary situation, it's completely understandable and actually good game design. You want to avoid boring the player, maybe you want to introduce new mechanics and let him test them against new weaker enemies. It re-injects life into the game, giving a feeling of progression. There are no RPG elements or stuff you can upgrade here, so it's a good idea. In fact, we get a new power-up that makes the dude's kick more powerful. Was pretty ineffective before, just good for opening doors. We also get the suspicious moonshine power-up that makes enemies attack each other. I only used it in this level, which is also one of the most interesting ones. It's reminiscent of Alice Madness Returns, very creative, just like the Carnival in Blood, almost as fun. We have creative level design, I have no idea what's going on. Perspective shenanigans? Nice for a change to see something like this in a game that's not specifically psychological survival horror, or that awful Devil May Cry reboot. It was one of its few saving graces. More practical jokes. Fun level traversal, man, I love this part. Next, there's an Asylum Ground sorta level. The game does a 180 and becomes an arena shooter. If they had put this right after the Karen boss battle, that would have been a mistake. From this point on, the game is shoot, shoot, kill, kill, peace, kill. Except we killed the coronavirus. Nice Stanley Parable reference right there. You either learn the correct sequence to kill it or you die. It took me at least 3 shots at it to kill it, then I boosted myself higher and finally killed it. Or did I? The Chinese symphonic music is a nice touch in good taste. At this point, the dude wants an autograph by Leon Dusk, so you need to get through a furry convention to get there. Again, no weapons here, and you get overpowered fast. I also learned on my 3rd playthrough that the shovel is able to effectively block most attacks. Here you also get the best weapon in the game, the pussy blower. You shoot cats and vacuum them back with the secondary fire button. Even if you miss, by picking the cat's back in your blower, you hit enemies on the way back. Plus, you don't lose ammo. So, if you shoot 3 cats and vacuum them back, you have basically infinite ammo. After you get your hands on all of the weapons and got into the groove of things, the gameplay loop is just plain fun. It kept me glued to the screen for the entirety of the 5-hour long campaign. There's this thing that I learned about the pussy blower weapon on my third playthrough. You just have to tap the secondary fire button. You don't need to hold it. Now, given how fun it is to use, how powerful it is, and the fact that you have infinite ammo, there's really no reason to use any of the other weapons, and congratulations, you've broken the game. But I couldn't stop using it, a consistent nerd boner. Up until where the gun literally broke the game, but I was a couple of minutes away from completing the level, so... There are also zero gravity sections in space and a parody level of Star Wars. The last level is a good multi-part boss fight, but I don't want to spoil it, even though I'm the only dude on YouTube that gave a shit about spoilers for this game. So let's wrap it. Postal Brain Damaged is an all-killer, no-filler boomer shooter with the jank in all the right places. It is superbly paced and it's damn good fun. It's on sale on Steam, about $10 now. Solid 5 hours of fun, lots of humor. Plus, it takes the piss out of the two most insufferable douchebags on planet Earth. Do it, do it, buy it now. Thanks for watching and subscribe to the channel so I can keep making more of these. Until next time. There goes Jeff Bezos. Maybe he'll find air in another galaxy.
No!